Hello, everybody. My name is Mike, and I am with Global Financial Data. And today we are going to talk a little bit about the GF database as well as the GFD indices. The GF database is Global Financial Data's primary global macro database, followed by our custom indices, which we call the GFD indices. Now, the GF database is our primary global macro database. And I say primary because it was the first database that basically put us on the map of the earth here. The GF database contains all of the investable asset class data, ranging from total returns on stocks, bonds, and bills, to commodities, to a variety of other data series that we've got. To divide the database up, there are a number of series categories that we organize the data into at first. Asset allocation in this instance refers to total returns on stocks, bonds, and bills. Commodities refers to the spot prices as well as some commodity indices that we've got, as well as a few futures series that we also have. Development data in this particular instance is more of our sociological variables, speaking more on the development of that nation as a whole. Oftentimes, you'll find variables like education level, healthcare levels, literacy rates, that sort of stuff within the development of the nation. Followed by economic data, which is exactly what you would assume would contain all of the economic data of that particular country. Epidemics in this particular instance would refer to the COVID data only, followed by equity. Given that this database is global macro, the equity data in the GF database would only contain the equity indices on the index level. Exchange rates, fixed income. Fixed income is where you're going to have your bond yields and treasury bills. Any of that sort of interest rate data will be found in the fixed income portion of the database. Government and debt would be exactly that, where you'd find the debt data for the various countries that you're looking for. International trade, and then, of course, national accounts. National accounts refers to your GDP data. Now, naturally, when people come to Global Financial Data, they see this universe quick search bar here in the top. Oftentimes what they'll do is they will come in and type a search term and assume that it's somewhat of a Google type search style. In this instance, it searches everything GFD. And so if you're looking for something that you know is going to be in the GF database, then I would forego utilizing the universe quick search because that searches everything within GFD. If you're looking for something in the GF database, I would specify your search here utilizing the GF database search. So let's use gold as an example. So I'm going to type gold in the universe search so you can sort of see some of the differences that pop up. So first you pull up gold and there's 2,800 series that pop up. Of course, all of our data are organized in order of download popularity. And so the more popular series tend to populate toward the top of the search, followed by some of the lesser popular series. So here at the top of the search, gold does come up. However, if it wasn't necessarily toward the top of the search, it was buried within the middle of the search results, it may be a little more difficult to search for. So what I do is I forego the universal search, and I use that simply for mnemonics or for the tickers of these symbols, like this here. But I'll show you that here shortly. So if I'm searching for gold, and I know that gold is in the GF database, then what I'll do is I will type gold here in the search bar in the GF database. Then I will filter my search down to commodities, and I'm only going to be searching what's in the commodity portion of the GF database, searching for the title gold in the name of that series. So here I've limited my search down to 36 series, made my search results much more manageable, and the search was a lot easier to find. So here, if I scroll down to the very end of it, you can see these are all the different types of gold series that we may have. Now, some of the data are found by the description, and some of them are also found by the name of the series. All right. So with that said, we also have at the top of our search here, we've got what we call the GFD Power Downloads. Over the years, we found that certain people would come to the website and only require a certain type of data, like they'd be looking for either the 10-year government bond, or they'd be looking for some total returns on stocks. And so what we've created to help for you in your searching is we've got these power downloads, which come with pre-populated searches already populated for you in these Excel files. Now, all of our data are downloaded in an Excel-based format. And so I'll share with you a little bit about some of their options as well here shortly. And so as you can see through some of these power downloads, we've got a number of different types of series that are available in the power downloads. So with that said, I'm going to go take a look at some of the basic information here in the GF database. So if you take a look at the search entries here, I'm going to expand my results down to the top 100. The first question people may ask is, why GFD? Why do we come to GFD to get our data? Well, first off, Global Financial Data is the only data provider that offers the extensive history that we offer. So if you take a look at the left column with the date range in it, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. In many instances, you'll see several centuries of data. No other data provider has this extensive history that Global Financial Data offers. And so this is probably why your company or university has come to Global Financial Data for your data needs. We offer the extensive history that other providers simply can't offer. So oftentimes people will ask us, well, that's good and great. You've got such an amazing collection of data, but how is it that you've got the S&P 500 dating back to the 1870s? Well, if you could see toward the right of all of our series, you've got this information tab. If you click on the information tab, you will notice that there's some general information that come up about that particular series. The top of the series, you'll see there's some general information about the start date, the end date, the frequency of the data, as well as any sort of base value that has been established. What's important to talk about regarding the frequency of the data is oftentimes in history, the data become more granular as time progresses. So early in history, often you'll find Global Financial Data may only have monthly data. And then as time progresses, you'll see that granularity or frequency increases to daily data. That's the most granular data that you will find at Global Financial Data would be daily. We don't have tick data or intraday data, primarily because on a historic notion, the concept of tick data didn't exist. So moving on, we will talk a little bit about what we call the GFD extensions. So oftentimes you'll see on the list here, if I scroll down, the GFD extension that we've added to many of these series. Well, what does that mean? Well, the GFD extension means one of two things. Either A, the Global Financial Data offers data that no other data provider offers. So anytime that you see the GFD extension, most likely Global Financial Data is the only data provider that has that length of history that we've got. Or a GFD extension refers to where Global Financial Data has extended that series further beyond its actual start date. So I'll use the S&P 500 as the example that I will share with you about. So the S&P 500 composite price index was extended back to 1871. And in this description tab here, you'll find a little bit more on what we did to extend that data. So in many instances, you'll see there's a lot of information that's typed in the description tab. In other instances, there's just a brief paragraph. In some cases, you'll have the sourcing, where we got the data from the various books. In other cases, like with the S&P 500, you'll talk a little bit about what we did to extend that series further beyond its actual start date. So in this instance, what Global Financial Data has done is we took a look at the original constituent members from the original S&P index and extended those 90 companies back to as far as they extended, which in this case was to the 1870s. Now, if you're looking to extend your research further beyond the 1870s, we do have custom data that custom indices that we've calculated within the GFD indices, which talk a little bit more about the extensions and some of the further history that we've got. But for the GF database, what you're going to find is you're going to find all of the big branded indices are going to be found within the GF database. And many of those big branded indices will have what we call the GFD extensions. Now, in the GFD indices, you're going to find 100% data that is only available to GFD. Now, we've been able to calculate our own custom indices, and that's where we store them, is within the GFD indices portion of the database. Now, the GFD indices are all custom to global financial data. These were all calculated utilizing the US stocks database that we have, as well as the UK stocks database. What we've done is we've calculated both the equity, bond, bill, commodity indices in our GFD indices, and these are all 100% custom created in-house. So that sort of summarizes a little bit of what we've done in the GFD indices. Now back to the global financial database. What I'd like to share with you a little bit is to better search for the GF database. So what I'm going to do is I will use bond yields as my example. So as you can see, there's 137,000 series in the GF database. So how is it that you can easily find data without having to break your head on trying to figure out, how the database is organized? Well, what you can do is if you take a look at fixed income, for example, that will then limit your data to 4,800 series. So that in itself does help limit your search results down a little bit. If you want to limit them down a little further more, you can then limit your fixed income down to the series type. If you're looking for government bond yields, then what that's going to do is it's going to find all of the government bond yields that we've got. Now, if you're looking to go a little further and specify that search on a specific government bond yield, well, then you could utilize the main indicator dropdown as well. And then you could specify just the 10-year government bond yield. So here we have all of our 10-year government bond yields. So you can see there's 72 of them that come up. But what I want to point out is we've got a special mnemonic that is assigned to each of our series. And so if you take a look at the mnemonic, you'll notice that literally only one portion of this mnemonic changes. So here it's the ISO code in the middle that changes. And so here, if you wanted to figure out the particular country code for, or the particular ticker for the German 10-year government bond or the French 10-year government bond, literally the only thing that changes is the ISO code in the middle. So if I wanted to break down the tickers and share with you a little bit about how we've done that, the IG in this particular instance refers to government bonds. The USA in this instance is the 3-digit ISO code. The 10 in this particular instance is the duration of that bond being 10-year. And the D would represent daily in this instance, for the data being, most recent data being daily. So now, if I know what the ticker is for a particular bond yield, and I'm looking for another bond yield, but from a different country, let's say the 5-year government bond for Brazil. If I come here and change out the ISO code as well as the duration of that bond, BRA 5, that will then take me to the Brazilian 5-year government bond. And so here we've got that data right there. Now, if I wanted to download that data, I could then click on the far right of this list here, and I could then hit download. Now here we've got the various download options. You've got a number of fields. You can select your data range. You could do a specific year by date, by year. You can just download the close values only. You can make a number of adjustments to the data. All of our data by default are in the native currency, but if you wanted to convert the currency, you can. Here we've got the major currencies, but in the database itself, we also have we've got exchange rates for every currency in the world. So you can literally convert the currency to any currency that you'd like. The data frequency, you've got the ability to convert the frequency as well. If you want to annualize the data, or if you just want monthly data, you can do that. And the date format, the USA is the only country in the world that puts the month first. So if you wanted to change it to the European format and have the day first, you could do that as well. This data fill method, what it refers to is there's quite a lot going on. Sort of starts out with the frequency. So let's go back to look at a couple of series that we might have interest in downloading. Let's say we've downloaded the CPI, which is a monthly series, GDP, which is a quarterly series, and then some stock indices, which are daily. Now, all of that data starts at a specific point. Some data may start in the 1900s, others may extend back to the 1800s. And so you've got a lot of mix match with the frequency of the data as well as the start dates. So that's what the data fill method does, is it aligns all of the data together, all in one spreadsheet. And then when you convert the data to daily or monthly or weekly, it then can convert it accordingly. And this data fill method, what it refers to is, how do you want to handle some of that missing data? Do you want to backfill with the previous day? Do you want to forward fill with the following day? Or do you want to leave it blank? So you could leave it blank as well. And then the worksheet format, what that refers to is when you're downloading a number of series in one worksheet, do you want to have all of the data stacked in one column, or would you like them pivoted in multiple columns? And so that's sort of how you would download your data in GFD. That's one example of what to do. So with that said, I will take a break here and share with you a little bit about the auto track. So the auto track will come shortly in a separate video. One last thing I'd like to share with you on global financial data as well is some of our graphing tools that we've got. I'll use the S&P 500 as our example. So if you click here on the right, you can graph out some of the data. And we've got some standard graphing tools that come with your subscription as well. So give it a moment to load. And so here we've got the graph of the S&P 500, and we've got a little line that comes over it. If you wanted to highlight a specific part of the graph, simply click your mouse and then highlight that portion, and here we've got it. So this just happens to look at the stock market crash of the 1920s. So if you wanted to look into that, or if you wanted to back out of that as well, you can see how it recovered, or you can see some of the buildup to it as well. So there is the graph. Now you've got graphing options as well. So here you've got a number of things. You can limit your range to all. You can set a custom date in there. Again, you can graph out the frequency. You can change that to annualize the graph. Now, by default, all of our graphs are logarithmic in nature, primarily because of the amount of history that we're using. But if you're graphing a shorter term, you can then create a linear graph or a percentage graph. You can also graph out change out the chart type from a line to a candlestick to bars with open, high, low, close, a number of different types as well. And again, you can convert the currency on the fly. And here we've got the ability to convert all of the currencies. And here you can graph out the various moving averages. Simply type in the moving average that you're looking for, a 30-day, 90-day, 120, whatever it may be. Comparison, you can compare series. I've done as many as 10, but I know you can compare an unlimited number. Obviously, for readability purposes, you'd want to limit it to the fewer the better. But you can do an indirect comparison where you're comparing stocks to bonds and they're all indirect. Or you can do a direct comparison where stocks and bonds are you can convert them so that they're directly compared to one another. And you can compare them, subtract or divide by. And then you can also add a number of technical indicators as well. Or some of the right here. And lastly, we've got some chronological items that you can graph out as well. If you wanted to recession shade your graph, you can recession shade it. If you wanted to graph out the presidents of the United States, you can do that. Now, the same can be said for the various world leaders. You can graph out the various world leaders for all of the different indices around. So for, oh wait, hold on here. I didn't do that correct. Let me go back, hang on. I did the moving averages, you can see. Let me do this, heads of state. So as you can see, sometimes heads of state and heads of government get a little confusing. So depending on the country that you're graphing, it may be a head of a state versus a head of a government. As you can see, I got it wrong. And so here you've got the various leaders as well on the performance of the S&P 500. So that is global financial data. Some other tools that come with your subscription I'll be talking about in a separate demo, but stay tuned for the events in time as well, and stay tuned for the auto track demo. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a great day.